It's known as the red gold of the Mediterranean. Red coral has been prized since antiquity, and jewelry designers always seek out the best samples. Strict regulations for coral divers have so far saved red coral from extinction, but every year criminal networks still smuggle out tons of the precious animals.
Coral is almost like cocaine these days.
We take a closer look at the trade, from the depths of the Mediterranean where the coral is harvested, to the traders all over the world seeking to cash in on the coral boom. We begin in the city of Naples in southern Italy. For centuries, this region has been famous for its red coral. On the edge of the city, under the shadow of Mount Vesuvius, is the area of Torre del Greco, the unofficial capital of the global coral trade. Local business leaders are upbeat. Coral jewelry is once again in demand. International fashion and jewelry brands are flocking to Torre del Greco. That success is helped by a serious commitment to conservation, says local businesswoman Maria De Simone. She says her traditional family firm sticks closely to the rules on conservation.
Not only us, but there are many factories which are older, more than 100 years old. So I think that these factories want to keep this activity for the future. If you want to keep this activity and continue, we have to care about sustainability.
She says she's aware of the illegal coral trade, but adds that all the well-established traditional firms have nothing to do with it.
You have a name, you have a story, you have something to defend, and you don't do these things. There are many factories, I mean, also small, which have a name, a respectful name, and I'm sure they have nothing to do with these people.
The area has many successful companies with a long-standing reputation. No one wants to talk about the black market. Even the local authorities refuse to give us an interview. And yet, a recent study sponsored by the European Union found that several million euros worth of red coral is sold illegally every year, often via southern Italy. Eventually, we find a dealer who's willing to discuss the darker side of the trade. The Cataldo family business has been around for almost 100 years. Owner Mico Cataldo says the area is experiencing something of a gold rush.
The big company like Bulgari, I don't know, also Gucci, introduce corals in their jewels. This is a very good spot, very good business for our company and also for Torre del Greco artisans.
A small, top-quality coral gem can sell for hundreds of euros in Italy. Red coral is also popular in Asia. This huge demand has attracted criminal gangs.
We fight every day about this problem because there are many illegal dealers that want to make money without documents, without paying taxes and so on. And so we have the courage to denounce these kind of people. We have also, in this case, the policemen from our side in this kind of war.
He needs the police support, as criminals have even come into his store to threaten him personally, he says. Although the authorities are clamping down on the criminals, it isn't always enough.
I say something very, very courageous, because they let pass the goods, the coral, from Spain. And Spain is a very soft country, and so they Spain, France, and then come in Italy. They find another way.
We head to Tunisia, across the Mediterranean, where much of the coral on the global market comes from. North Africa has the largest deposits in the Mediterranean. Here, too, many people live from the coral trade, and they are also feeling the impact of smuggling. Murad Afawi runs a small shop where he turns red coral into jewelry. Tourists can buy a coral earring here for as little as 15 euros. That's not enough to make Murad Afawi wealthy. But he says over the past 20 years, it's always been enough to provide a good life for his wife and children.
The whole family pitches in here at the shop. Some work in the morning, others in the afternoon. We produce all the coral jewelry ourselves, from the harvested coral to the finished product. My sons are only 10 and 15. They've basically grown up with the coral jewelry here in the store.
Murad Afawi's hometown of Tabarka lies on Tunisia's northern Mediterranean coast. For centuries, everything here has revolved around red coral. But there's no sense of a gold rush here. Local residents tell us 90% of the shops have closed because there's no more coral available. And even when there is something on offer, the prices are often unaffordable. Even Murad Afawi doesn't believe his children will be able to continue the family business.
At some stage, there'll probably be no coral left. The shortage already makes it unaffordable for people here. They have no money and need to focus on basic necessities. Who can afford top-quality coral jewelry? Maybe artists or business people.
Again and again, the traders hint to us that criminals have overfished the coral here. The illegally caught goods are then smuggled abroad, leaving hardly anything for local businesses and driving up the prices. But no trader will talk about it on camera. Eventually, we find one industry insider willing to talk. Salah Bjawi worked for years as a coral diver. He always stuck to the rules, he says. But now he's grown too old for the job and allows other divers to use his boat instead.
There's a lot of illegal fishing going on, and that creates huge problems for us because it destroys our coral stocks and the entire seabed. If 10 kilos of coral are growing on a rock, the illegal fishing destroys all the habitats around it. 9 kilos of the coral is lost and only 1 kilo ends up being caught.
He says this practice is especially common in neighboring Algeria and is leaving some coral populations at risk of dying. He says the coral is smuggled to Tunisia and from there all over the world. Demand in southern Europe and Asia is especially high. He believes authorities struggle to verify where the coral has come from.
Coral is almost like cocaine these days. A while ago, they caught an Italian man with a boat who was transporting coral to Italy illegally. Everyone knows it's happening.
We want to know what Tunisia's security authorities can tell us about the illegal trade. The head of the regional Coast Guard is willing to talk to us. Adam Ben Arafa assures us they have the criminals on their radar.
We're in the process of efficiently combating the phenomenon here. We can now intervene quickly and flexibly so that the boats with the illegal goods don't escape. This practice has developed over the years, but now, bit by bit, we're getting more control over it.
The Coast Guard regularly conducts searches of boats at the small port of Tabarka. They're clearly keen to demonstrate their firm stance against smuggling and invite us to come along with them. On this occasion, they find no smuggled goods. But very often, their investigations do produce results. 3 years ago, they uncovered a network of smugglers in Algeria, Tunisia, and Spain, whose global trade in coral was worth millions of euros. The officials tell us that traders mostly operate via certain key hubs in the region.
They often store the goods in the city of Bizet or the capital Tunis. Then they try to export it. The classic route is to Italy. From there, the coral is often transported to destinations as far away as India.
There, the coral is often used in the beauty industry. In many Asian countries, the underwater creatures are said to have health benefits and even supernatural powers. Criminal networks go to great lengths to get the precious corals, often hundreds of meters below the surface, to turn them into money. The traditional harvesting method using huge drag nets has long been officially banned, but there's still no effective certification system. But experts say illegal fishing isn't the only threat to the corals. Biologist Sabri Al-Jaziri has spent years studying the coral formations off Tunisia's coast and has observed the growing impact of climate change.
The water temperature is steadily increasing. We're seeing that here in the Mediterranean especially, and we're already feeling the effects. It's attracting many new species that aren't native to this region. They are often very invasive, especially those here in Tunisia and in Italy. That in turn affects the water quality and the coral skeletons. In the end, the coral becomes too weak to fix itself to the rock and can no longer develop properly.
Jewelry artisan Murad Afawi is convinced that all the problems blighting the coral stem from one thing: human greed.
Just like many other species, our corals are dying because we no longer give them time. Time to grow, time to develop. We just don't appreciate the treasures of our oceans anymore.
On the other side of the Mediterranean, in Torre del Greco, the problems of the North African traders seem far away. But here too, many realize that if they don't take more effective action to combat the illegal practices, the supply of fresh coral could eventually run out forever.